Hello and welcome to the Doofcast, a film and TV podcast from Doof Media. My name is Scott Daly, and I am your host.
And I'm Matt Freeman. Scott, I got a new assignment today. I've got to babysit this rich socialite.
She hot?
Mm-hmm.
She interesting?
Eh.
Gonna cheat on your wife?
Yep.
This week on the show, Deconstructing Ridley Scott continues with the director's fifth film. We're going to be talking all about 1987's Someone to Watch Over Me. I think this is truly the first film on our Deconstructing series that I both had not seen and had never heard of. I think the movies for some of our other directors I had heard of before. This is a first for me.
Yeah, me too. And I think as we talk about this movie today, we will explain why that is.
That is very true. But after we talk all about Someone to Watch Over Me, we are going to very briefly come back to our episode last week talking all about Dr. Strangelove and seeing the results of our canon vote to see if Dr. Strangelove gets into our illustrious, incredible, unknowable list of the greatest movies of all time.
That's right.
And then, Matt, I wanted to briefly talk to you about the trailer for James Cameron's new Avatar movie, Avatar 2, The Way of Water. The trailer dropped, a teaser trailer, I guess we'll call it, dropped this week, and it's worth talking about.
It's so funny because every time I hear that title, I'm like, wait, what? Like water bending? Is this the Avatar? No, it's not. It's a different. Okay.
It's really funny because it's like, well, we'll get there.
Yeah, we will.
But let's I guess real quick before we get into the movie of the week, though, Matt, I just wanted to say we got a lot of feedback and comments from listeners after our discussion last week about the state of criticism, film criticism specifically. So I just wanted to thank everyone for reaching out and sharing your opinions with us. It was great to hear for some people about this weird, complicated issue we tried to get to the bottom of last week.
Yeah, I saw thoughts in various places that were sort of so thought-provoking that I just sort of didn't respond to them at all because I was like, that's really interesting. And then I would go think about it and then forget to respond.
Yeah.
So if I almost certainly saw what you wrote and I found it interesting, I may not have replied, but yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone, so much. All right, Matt, let's get into Ridley Scott's fifth film. Let's talk all about Someone to Watch Over Me.
Take the witness and babysitter.
But I don't want her to know that there's any real danger.
You didn't tell me she was so beautiful. I'm scared. Unless there's some particular reason that you feel better to be around her at night.
Oh, man, what's happening?
Michael, get off of this case.
She's my responsibility.
Matt, what is this movie all about?
A married New York cop falls for the socialite murder witness he's been assigned to protect.
This movie was written by Howard Franklin and is, of course, directed by Sir Ridley Scott. It stars Tom Berenger, Mimi Rogers, and for the first time, Lorraine Bracco. Okay, Matt, why have we never heard of this movie before?
Because it's not very good.
Uh-huh.
Now, here's the interesting thing. Very well directed.
Sure.
Can't really complain about the direction, except maybe a couple of things at a kind of a high level. But, it looks really good.
Yeah. I agree with you. I think the technical direction is very good. Mm-hmm. The movie looks good. I like the lighting. I like the camera angle choices. I like a lot of the sets.
Yeah,
I do think Ridley Scott was the exact wrong person to direct this movie, like 100%.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing is I don't know whose fault it is, and just to jump to it, it's a slow, long movie that's fundamentally about like this love affair, and it's a love affair which contains not even zero chemistry, almost like negative chemistry somehow, where you don't buy that they even particularly like each other. Okay, can I just lay it out, Scott? Can I just
do it?
Okay, so the movie, nobody's watched this movie, by the way. So I know you listener haven't watched it. So toward the beginning, the beginning of the movie establishes that this cop, our main character, he's in love with his wife, his wife loves him. He loves his wife. They have a good marriage. You know, they're both sort of rough edged New Yorkers, and so sometimes they can butt heads, but that doesn't detract from your strong sense that they have real chemistry. They have a real depth of relationship and love, and they have a 10-year-old son, and it's just, he's just living his life. And then he meets this socialite woman and somehow falls in love with her, despite that not being dramatized at all.
Yeah.
And to the point where he's not just cheating on his wife, but like considering leaving his wife, which is the thing that you really don't buy at all.
Yeah.
And
this is it's like a mess of a movie, like conceptually, like from concept to script to directing, every single person makes a huge mistake with this movie. And I think it is exactly what you're getting down to. It's not just that Tom Berenger and Mimi Rogers, two incredibly attractive people, by the way, very, very good looking human beings. But just being good looking doesn't mean that you are interested in a person. And they just stuffed these good looking people in a movie and then said, you're in love now. And not only do they not achieve the chemistry to make us believe that, but the movie also actually doesn't do any work to ever get you, the listener, to be convinced. Like, putting chemistry aside, there's actually no narrative point in the movie where you go, oh, that's why he likes her. Oh, that's why he's into this world. Oh, that's why he's like considering throwing his life away. Like, there's no moment, like every time she's bringing him to like parties and things, he's miserable and uncomfortable there.
Yeah.
He's not enjoying his time as a socialite. And so the idea that like, not only is he gonna, cheat on his wife, as you said, but throw his entire world away for this woman, you just never, ever, ever buy it.
Yeah. Yeah. Like you said, he doesn't even appear to find the high life like that alluring in and of itself.
Yeah.
The only thing like it's so funny because the default reading is in fact the opposite. Like you pointed out, like there's a scene where she, he puts on his best suit to go, watch her or whatever. And then his wife, okay, so he goes to her and she like judges his suit and is like, oh, you're going to need a nicer tie if we're going to go out to this event together. And she takes him to the store and buys him a tie. And like, my reading of the film at that point in the movie wasn't like, oh, he feels really self-conscious and he definitely wants to like dress better. It was more like he doesn't really care that much about this sort of thing anyway. He's this New York cop who is, like a born and bred New York cop. He feels condescended to, and it's annoying to him, but that doesn't like I just didn't read the movie. But then apparently we were supposed to interpret that as like, oh, he feels bad about how, uncouth he is, and he wants to like be better, and he wishes that he were better. He wishes that his life were more classy. And it's like, when is that even hinted at, much less established firmly?
It's not at all. And yeah, the biggest mistake is he is completely content in his life when we meet him. Like one of the opening scenes of this movie is there is a party being thrown for him at his house because he's just been promoted to detective and he's moving presumably from one of the Queens precincts to a Manhattan precinct. So he's moving up in the world, and he seems just completely content in his life. He has his friends, he has his wife, like he's happy. Like the movie takes like 10 minutes out of its running time to show how fucking happy he is. And so, yeah, like there's nothing established to say, oh, something is missing in his life and this woman and the life she lives fills the hole, or like any backstory to say like he's embarrassed by being low class. He doesn't want to be that way. He always wanted to be something more. None of that's in the movie. It's just, she's pretty, ergo he falls in love with her, and it's just fundamentally flawed. And the other problem here is they cast Lorraine Bracco as his wife, who is an actress that you might remember as Henry Hill's wife in Goodfellas, and also she's a psychiatrist in The Sopranos as well. She is the best part of the movie. She's great. She is like strong and stubborn and passionate, and every scene that she's in, like when she confronts him about him cheating on her, that's the best scene in the movie because she's totally carrying that scene.
Yeah.
And so you cast this woman and she becomes the heart of the film, and therefore their relationship becomes the heart of the film, and therefore he just looks like an asshole for 90% of the film.
Right. It's interesting because I was like on his side for the beginning of the movie. I was like, he's kind of a charming, but simple, hardworking cop guy. And then like, as soon as he kind of starts to fall for her, I'm like, no, we're not going this direction, are we? No, this is so disappointing. And then I just like hated him for the rest of the movie.
Yeah. Well, it doesn't help that Tom Berenger, who plays this character as just like kind of aloof and non-committed to anything. Like he's just kind of plays him very monotone and flat. Like he doesn't really seem to care about much of anything at any point.
Well, he seems dumb often.
Yeah.
While he has flashes of not being dumb, he usually just is playing him as if he's a dumb guy, which makes him even less likable. So what you were saying about, the choice of making his wife be by far the most charismatic and compelling character in the movie, like there's sort of two ways I could have seen this being fixed. One of them would be change her character completely, make it so that he's in a bad marriage, doesn't have a kid, bad marriage, and then he meets this socialite, and then it's like an escape. And then, maybe him and the socialite still don't end up together in the end, but maybe he also doesn't end up with his bad wife who he doesn't like. And it's like, and now he's free. Like he ends the movie free maybe. And then the other way to fix it would be make the wife even more the center of the story, to the point where she takes, she's already a pretty important character. Like she gets a lot of independent scenes where he's not even there. But she could have even more than that. And then end the movie with her telling him to go fuck himself and dumping him because he deserves it. In fact, the last scene where she just takes him back is by far the biggest, just like, deflation moment where you're just like, okay, nothing matters. This is a shitty story.
I don't actually think you have to make her shitty in the first version of what you said. I just think you have to make him unhappy in the marriage. And maybe part of the movie is him relearning that no, actually he does like his life. And I think that's what they're going for, right? But I just don't think they pull it off in any way.
Yeah, you could. I can squint and see that, but it just seemed, there's like one scene toward the beginning where it's just way too clear that they are actually still in love. Like even if you took that scene out, it would actually improve the movie, because then you could at least kind of say like, their marriage seems kind of, functional more than passionate. But it's like, well, no, we got this passionate scene in there. you gotta take that out. The only scene with any like eroticism to it was with him and his wife, not his, apparently torrid love affair.
He and Mimi Rogers do have sex in the movie, but there's nothing steamy or sexy about this. Is what I mean by Ridley Scott was the exact wrong person to do this movie, because this is the first movie in our thing so far where I've gone, here's Robot Ridley. Here's the guy who does not understand how human emotions work. Because I do think there's a version of this movie that maybe works a little bit better, that it becomes a horny thriller from the 80s. Like it becomes one of those movies that you and I have often lamented about no longer existing anymore, right? And I think in many ways that was perhaps what the writers of this film planned for it to be, but then Ridley Scott directed it, and he just cannot do erotic thriller. And this is not an erotic thriller, but like you can see a version of the movie where the Mimi Rogers character is like alluring in this very fascinating, sexy way, and it's not just being a socialite. It's this new kind of existence that he just finds incredibly attractive, and he doesn't know what to do with these feelings, and he's kind of swept up in it all. But that's not what happens. They go to a bar, and then they just like talk, and then he's in love with her.
Yeah, he's like, I'm seduced now.
Yeah, it's just, Oh man, like I really feel like this Ridley Scott is the exact wrong person for this. I just don't think he can do erotic thriller in any way. And I read actually that Sharon Stone went out for the role that Mimi Rogers eventually got. And it's like hearing that led me down a path where I could see what this movie might have been. Like I'm imagining like Basic Instinct version of Sharon Stone playing this socialite character, and like she's got this cool confidence, and you know, the movie tries to gesture at this idea that like she's this incredibly classy, formal woman, where his wife is a little bit, you know, she's quote unquote working class, she's a little bit more crude. Like there's that one scene where she's dropping F-bombs left and right, and he just suddenly goes, "Hey, stop saying that word so much." And that's just like you can see the movie like gesturing at the reason why he's being swept up into this whole thing is because it's this elevated existence that he's never really experienced, and he finds himself liking it. But the movie doesn't actually do any work to telegraph that to you at all.
Yeah,
except for this one scene where you're like, why would he suddenly care about her saying fuck? He's never shown any interest in being classy ever.
Yeah, you just don't buy that would be the case. I think, you know, the movie I think you are probably right, but also I don't even know how to make that work because the movie is trying to do too many things.
Sure.
We haven't even talked about like the plot of the movie, which is that the woman witnesses a murder, and the murderer comes after her. It's actually like it's fine. That stuff actually works. You know, she runs away. The cops have to put her under protection. There's all this kind of complexity over like he feels guilty because he's kind of pressuring her to identify the murderer, even though he knows that this will just put her in danger. And like I actually bought that conflict, frankly. Like I there were elements of the movie that worked. It was just like kind of the main part that didn't work. And so all of that being on the table, you've got to have this woman be like vulnerable and scared and also classy and also seductive, and all, like it's like wait, it's like you can't actually do it. Like you can't. So I would say I don't know if it would have worked either if she had played it like, oh, she's going to be a sexy vixen. She's going to just straight up, I want you. I'm going to seduce you. Like part of the reason why he's seduced by her, I think, is supposed to be because she's like scared and vulnerable, and he wants to be her protector. He like this allows him to feel big and strong and powerful, and that he's able to provide this protection for her. And I kind of get that psychologically. Like I buy it on paper. It's just not dramatized very well. No. And also it's just kind of inherently not erotic because it's actually not like, it's not like the truth is this isn't even like a real seduction. This is like she's scared and and that makes him horny.
Have you seen Bad Boys?
Yes.
The first Bad Boys? Because this is basically the plot of Bad Boys.
You're right.
But yeah, I mean, I think you're absolutely right that like the movie wants to have its cake and eat it too. It wants her to be this scared, innocent lamb for him to protect, and her innocence and I guess extreme femininity, we can call it, is compared to his wife, who is a very strong, powerful, certain and confident in who she is woman, and maybe he decides he likes that other stuff for some stupid reason. But then it also wants her. It recognizes that the conceit is that she's a socialite, and so it's like, fuck, we have to have her go places, but she's hiding from a murderer, and so it just has her behave illogically. Like I can see the points in the movie where it wants her to be this incredibly confident, like almost naively confident rich person, you know, where she just has no actual real understanding of how much trouble and danger she's in. But Mimi Rogers never plays her like that. Mm-hmm. Like the script is telling us that. You can tell it in the dialogue, but the way she's playing the character just never matches up to any of that. And so it's this weird discongruity throughout the movie where you're like, why are we at a dinner right now? What are we doing here? Yeah. Like it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. Yeah, her character is just all over the place.
Yeah.
I just thought of my favorite fix. Actually, here's my favorite fix. Okay, you just flip it. Okay, he's married to he's a cop with a rocket ship trajectory career. He's married to a wealthy socialite who sort of tolerates him working as a cop. But he's not really in love. The marriage is obviously convenient because she's super rich, and that's awesome for him. And then the woman who he's assigned to protect is an important murder witness who is a working class, rough around the edges, badass woman. And he falls in love with her, and because of course he would, and you would buy that, and that would be great, and that's an awesome idea. You're welcome.
Matt, you've just described Pretty Woman exactly.
Is there a murder and
no? There's not a murder.
Well, anyway, but the point, like, Pretty Woman's definitely a better movie than this. So
yes.
Yeah, like it's such a more organic and more compelling and more believable and more fun idea than what we got here. God, at the very least, his wife should have told him to buzz off in the end, because as it is, it's like, it's not even a tragedy. It's just nothing. It's nothing.
Well, I think it's so funny because to go back to that scene where she confronts him about it, like, she is doing everything in that scene and he is doing nothing. He's not even responding to her. He's not like, she's asking him all these questions and he's just silent. And he never at one point tells either of these two women what he wants, actually. He just kind of like hovers around them, and then they comfort him. And they're like, "Oh, you're clearly confused about what you want. Yeah. Here, let me pet you on the head.
Poor
guy." Yeah. It's just like, come on, folks. Yeah. It's this is what I mean about every decision along the way. You're so right that conceptually, script wise, direction wise, the tone of the film, it's all wrong. But as you said, let's give our boy Ridley Scott credit. It's a very good looking film. Like from the opening jump, I actually love, I guess the socialite's apartment is supposed to be in the Chrysler building, which I have to be honest, I thought that was just offices. I didn't think people lived in the Chrysler building, but that's actually really cool if true.
Yeah, I have no idea. I don't know anything about New York.
But the camera like opens and it kind of just circles around the Chrysler building, which is my favorite building in New York. I love that building so much. And I'm already like, I like this. I like the coloring too. Like there's something very, the movie does a very good job of drawing a distinction between, the neighborhood he lives in that is apparently falling apart in Queens, and her life in this Chrysler building apartment in Manhattan. Like, I think visually we get a real obvious distinction between the two of those. And that, I think, is supposed to be doing the heavy lifting of like, this is why he likes her, which is just a classic Ridley Scott move of like, she's got nice things. Yeah. I'm a robot. I don't know how love works.
I mean, it is a very cynical, like, okay, so that's to Steelman that. I think that maybe this is something that my brother Daniel said, actually, that Ridley Scott has a really low opinion of people.
Yeah, I think so.
And so, like, actually, it's a very cynical take to say this is what love is. Love is this guy who's so fucking dumb and base that, like, oh, she's hot and rich. Yeah, of course I'm attracted to that. Does it matter that her personality doesn't exist? No, why would it? She's hot and rich. Mm-hmm. And like, how could he possibly resist? She's so rich and hot, and she has nice clothes, and she smells good, and like, that's a nicely cynical view on human nature, actually. So, like, maybe it's not necessarily that he's a robot who doesn't understand humans. He actually just has a really negative opinion of humans and thinks that they're, base, dumb, fallen creatures who consistently make terrible choices. And then, that comes across as being unbelievable, because you're like, I don't believe that he would have done that.
Yeah.
Which I guess you could I mean, I'm sure people have cheated for less reason than that. So
Sure. I'm doing like a mental map in my head of the movies we've covered so far and some of the movies to come. And I think that lines up. I think Ridley Scott has a very negative outlook on humanity. I think lines up pretty well. So that is definitely a possibility. We'll have to make sure we pay attention to that going forward.
I mean, certain of his later films that are widely disliked actually make a lot more sense if you take the lens that these are about how the characters are stupid. Like the characters making mistakes is not a problem with the film. It's what the film is about.
Sure.
So that's just something to bookmark for later.
One of the things I want to talk about though is so this apartment that Mimi Rogers' character lives in is the most ridiculous apartment ever, especially the centerpiece of the apartment, which is like a booze shelf and also funhouse mirror room.
It's weird. Yeah.
It's so weird. And like the minute you see that room introduced in the movie, you're like, oh, there's definitely going to be an action sequence in here. And of course there is, when a man sneaks in to assassinate her, and Tom Berenger is there to stop him, which, by the way, this movie features 2 sequences in which people very lazily dress up like another person, and then people aren't paying enough attention, so it works. It works twice.
That's pretty funny.
One guy like dresses up as the jogger, who is an extremely old man who is like got 30 pounds on the guy who dresses up like him. And then at the end of the movie, someone throws on a fur coat. A man throws on a fur coat to be Mimi Rogers.
Yeah. That's true. That is really funny now that you point that out.
But anyway, so the guy sneaks in, and he and Tom Berenger are kind of like stalking each other, and they're stalking each other in the funhouse mirror room. And so they're going to do what anyone would ever do with an action sequence in a funhouse mirror room, which is someone's going to think they've got the drop on someone, open fire, and realize that was just a reflection and not him, right? This is like a tale as old as movie making. You're going to do something like this. Here's the problem I have with this scene. It's twofold. One, so the bad guy gets the drop on Tom Berenger, fires. Oh no, it was just a reflection of him. So now Tom Berenger has the drop on him. But then when he opens fire on him, the bullet goes through a mirror, and it's clearly just his reflection, and yet he goes flying down as if he's hit by a gun. And then the movie hard cuts away from the scene to him leaving the funhouse mirror room and going to check on his partner. And I'm like, is that guy dead? What happened?
See, I thought that was a pane of glass rather than a mirror. And so he was...
It could have been. Yeah, I don't know.
The movie was not clear on that.
It was the weird... Like, Ridley Scott is a very good technical director. And it was the scene that, like, just stood out to me as this was terribly composed and shot and edited. Like, this does not work at all.
I'm imagining him just being like, why would this be here? Why would this be here? I don't believe this would be here. I can't do this. You mentioning his partner just reminded me of like my favorite thing that keeps happening in the movie is people keep telling him like, don't show up, don't go to the woman, go away, don't come to the woman.
Yeah, we
can't believe that you'd be cheating on your awesome wife. What is wrong with you? And then he always shows up, and then the cops are like, "What the hell is wrong with you?" like, and it's so funny because
it is.
You're like, and those are the best line deliveries too, where he shows up and they'll be like, "Come on, man!" you're like, yeah, like you're on their side. It's hilarious.
And once again, Tom Berenger's reaction to that is not to say anything, but just go, oh. Yeah. It's so weird because I do think like stuff like that, you're absolutely right, and stuff like that leads you to believe the point of the movie is he should have been with his wife the whole time and he's just being a stupid idiot. But it doesn't frame it that way. So often it doesn't frame it that way. It just kind of comes around to it, and the end is like she hugs him, and I guess like, okay, I guess we've dealt with the fact that you were fucking someone else. Yeah. We've just gotten past that now.
Right. Like you admitted it, and then you went off and did it some more.
Yeah. And then you were seriously considering leaving me and my son for this random ass woman you've known for 6 days. But no, we're good now.
Yeah,
we're good.
It's all better now. I'm taking you back. No,
And she's
I
the
hated
hero
that.
anyway. No, she's the one that shoots the bad guy in the end.
She's totally the hero.
Her and her son should have been the main characters because he's the one that gets the hidden gun and then he passes it to her and she takes him out.
I feel like this was a movie that either like started with a totally different kernel of what it was about and then got butchered through the process of editing, or like too many cooks, you know, because you're totally right that she should have been the main character of the movie, and or just any other of the combinations of changes we've suggested. But like, it ended up this Frankenstein's monster of like 5 different sensibilities and ideas of what the movie was supposed to be. Like, I know I'm repeating myself, but like, it makes absolutely no sense that his wife takes him back.
Yeah.
Like because then there's no dramatic direction to the film. It's just, it's not the story of this cop who destroyed his life through his passions. It's what's the word for an arc that goes nowhere? It just ends exactly in the same place that it started.
I think that's just a dot.
Yeah, it's a nothing is what it is. It's a bad movie.
Yeah, I mean, what is this movie about? Right? Not the plot, but what is the movie about? What is the movie saying? What is the movie exploring? It's nothing. There's nothing. And I guess the question I have for you at this point is, why this movie, Ridley Scott? You know, like why did he decide? Because I actually read he was in talks and working on directing this movie all the way back in '82, and it wasn't until '87 that he actually got to make it. Part of which because he was busy making Legend. But like, I don't know, like. I read somewhere that this was called at the time when the movie came out Ridley Scott's warmest movie, which again I have to kind of, I guess, technically true considering his other movies were Alien and Blade Runner, but I don't find it particularly warm either.
Well, what's funny is the only warm parts are the parts where it's like him with his family.
Yeah, and
then the movie takes a big old dump on all that, like textually. So. I don't know if this is true, but maybe he was looking for some way to make like a real movie. But that I mean a movie about like the real world that wasn't fantasy or sci-fi or historical drama. Which, the next couple movies are actually that. So maybe he just kind of wanted to do that.
Yeah, I mean, an opportunity to definitely dive into something that I see that because he's definitely the type of director that's always going to continue to make different things, right? Like the 90s is filled with him jumping between, he goes White Squall, G.I. Jane, Gladiator, Hannibal, Black Hawk Down, Matchstick Men, Kingdom of Heaven, right? That's kind of the 90s and early 2000s, which is going from realistic present day to fantasy or ancient times, or, like war film to drama to like, it's, yeah, he definitely is not the type of director that wants to be pegged as one thing. And so, yeah, maybe this was just an opportunity to declare that, really.
Yeah, right. I mean, maybe even at the level of somebody telling him like, hey, you're going to get pigeonholed as a fantasy sci-fi director. And maybe he literally felt like he had to do it. I mean, it's possible that, he saw something in this story and he really wanted to tell it, and then it just didn't work. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know anything about I haven't been able to find any real information about it because I don't think anybody cares about this movie, honestly.
No. But I have to ask, like, then what is it that he saw? Like, I just don't believe he saw anything in this movie because I don't think there's anything here. Like, I mean, except for literally just like, don't cheat on your wife is like the movie. Like, that's bad.
Yeah.
Don't do that. Yeah. Which, thank you, movie. I knew that.
Yeah. I don't know, man. It's quite mysterious. It's very funny because I was actually very, very open to liking this movie when the movie started. Here's the funny story. Scott texted me like in the middle of the week and said like, oh my God, this movie's amazing. And I was like, oh wow. Well, no, I'm really looking forward to watching this Ridley Scott movie. And then I started watching it and I was really enjoying it. I was like, yeah, I'm enjoying this. This is great. Like I've never heard of this movie before, but it's not surprising that Ridley Scott would make a good movie. And then it hits that point where number one, you're like, this is kind of slow, but I'm okay. Maybe it'll pick up. And then like he starts making all these bad decisions and it
Yeah.
gets boring and I hate him. And then I was like, okay, I didn't like that. And then I realized that you weren't talking about this movie. You were talking about Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Yes.
When you said that this movie was great. So so the point is I was open. I was open-minded. You know, I hadn't heard anything good or bad about this movie. So I was open-minded, and it just stunk. And I just think it's really interesting because we're coming off of, you know, a series of fantastic, you know, I think you didn't like Legend very much, but at least Legend is like extremely interesting and unique.
Yeah, I think this is like functionally a better movie than Legend, but I think Legend is much more interesting movie than this is.
Yeah, and again, like Legend is a visual spectacle. The problems with Legend is the story, right? So
yeah,
which is also the problem with this movie. This is one thing we've talked about before, is the idea that often we do writer directors and we can kind of blame everything on the director because they also wrote the movie. But in the case of both Legend and this movie, I would only partially blame Ridley Scott because I just don't think that the scripts were there.
Yeah. And with the exception of the one scene that we've already talked about, I do think like the look of this movie is very good. There's a lot of noir stuff that's playing in this movie. He's using light and shadows in a lot of real interesting ways. There's like, I feel like the main bad guy is like always backlit with the spotlight in every scene he's in for some reason that just makes him seem menacing and terrifying. I find, like I said, the set design was really good. I think with the exception of our leads, like the casting's really great because you got the one guy that's the cop in NYPD Blue. It's just the cop here, or is it Law and Order that he's
it's
the
Law
cop
and Order.
Law and
Order, yeah.
Jerry Orbach, and then you have Andreas Katsoulas as the bad guy, who is like the bad guy in everything.
Yeah,
he's like always the bad. I think he was the one-armed man in The Fugitive, wasn't he? I think he was.
Yes, he was. I knew I recognized him from. Yeah.
And he's really effective here too. I do think it's weird that, like, I don't know, like comparing this movie to Bad Boys, which has the same plot, which is this woman inadvertently observes a murder and then needs to be protected by the police so she can testify against him. The movie doesn't seem to actually care about the reason for the murder. It just happens like really fast, and I was waiting for like that to be relevant to the film, but it's not really.
Yeah. You're right. I mean, it's God. I mean, that's God. Wow. Yeah, you've reminded me what a perfect microcosm of what a mess this movie is, of just too much stuff, right? Because the murder victim is like this fascinating, like, I want to call him Bruce Wayne, except, you know, he's not Batman, but he's like this fascinating, alluring, charismatic, like whirlwind of man. We meet him. He's like, you know, he's like dashingly rude to people, and you know, and then, you know, he goes to his own apartment, and then the guy's there, and they're like, you know, hey, you were supposed to let me in on the deal. It's my deal. You can, I'm dead. And then it's like, what happened? Like we introduced this guy. We characterized him. He's dead. Who was he? What the hell is happening? And like, I'm so baffled, man. Like
we're we're told that this guy is really bad, but we don't actually know why. Like what he was involved in. Is it drugs? We don't know. He's just bad.
He's a psychopath. Yeah. Okay.
I also think it's really weird that the scene, like a lot of the movie is building to the scene where she goes to the lineup to ID him, right? Mm-hmm. But the moment in the lineup, the movie cuts away from the scene before she actually IDs him.
It's
like
so
that's not in the movie, which is like that's the big like dramatic thing, which the first half of the movie is kind of clinched around, is the idea that is she going to identify him or is she going to chicken out in the end, and to cut away from that moment just seems like the wrong choice to me.
Absolutely. Yeah, that was so weird. That was such a moment that you're looking forward to, like how is this going to go? This is a huge decision for her. What's her decision going to be? And then the movie is just like, oh yeah, she identified him. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Okay.
It's wild. Absolutely wild.
Yeah.
I don't know. We didn't spend a lot of time on this movie, but that's because I don't think there's a lot to say about this movie. I think this is going to be a pretty short episode, Matt.
I agree.
I don't know what else to say about this.
I don't really have anything else to say. It's not a recommend, is what I'll say.
It's not good, and worse than not being good, it's not interesting. Like, even if it was bad, but had some interesting things to do, like Legend, I think I could get behind it, but it's just boring.
And we said it looked nice, but it doesn't look so nice that it justifies actually spending the time to watch it.
It looks nice for the 80s, in which movies really did not look very good. Like, there's a lot of movies that look very bland and boring in the 80s.
Yeah, right. I mean, I think what you could say is it's a bad, bland, boring movie that's slightly elevated by the fact that it was directed by Ridley Scott. But
yeah, I think you're right.
Not much.
We didn't talk about the boyfriend at all. Mimi Rogers' shitty ass boyfriend. I like how the movie just, you're right that it does too much, but it smartly recognizes, get this fucker out of the way by making him completely bland and boring, and we have no desire to feel bad about Mimi Rogers cheating on him at all because he sucks.
Yeah, exactly. Not much to say.
Yep. All right. That is Someone to Watch Over Me. Definitely a skip. Not a lot learned about Ridley Scott in this one either, other than sometimes he just chooses movies that don't exactly make sense to you. I wonder if this is the last time we're going to have this sentiment.
I don't know. I guess I learned that he really does give his all, even if the movie is not good.
I think that's true. That's true.
Like just like you were saying, there's a lot of energy put into shot construction and, very kind of evocative camera movements, even if what is being depicted is pretty boring.
Yeah. And it introduced the world to Lorraine Bracco, who went on to have a fantastic career and was like we said, the very best part of this film. So
yeah.
maybe that's good.
Yep.
She's going to be in Pinocchio.
Okay.
She's going to be Sophia the Seagull. Now, I haven't seen Pinocchio in a while, but I don't remember that being a character.
They're just making shit up.
I'm imagining the seagull with this heavy Brooklyn accent, and I'm going to love it. All right, so that is it for Someone to Watch Over Me. The next film we will be reviewing for Sir Ridley Scott is his 1989 another cop movie. This is going to be Black Rain, starring Michael Douglas. This is a movie I have seen, but it has been a very long time, and I remember liking it. So I think we're going to be much more positive on this one, Matt. Have you ever seen Black Rain?
No, I don't think so.
Oh, well,
delightful.
Yeah, it won. It was nominated for the best foreign language film from the awards of the Japanese Academy. So by foreign language, they mean English.
That's wow, quite an accomplishment.
It also was nominated for the best foreign film from the Golden Horse Film Festival, but also the worst foreign film from the Yoga Awards.
This is really interesting. Really interesting.
Maybe I haven't seen this movie. We'll find out next week. I think I thought I had, but I think there's a movie called Hard Rain that I might be thinking of that had Christian Slater in it, where it rains a lot. Maybe that's what I'm thinking of.
Well, we'll find out next week.
We will.
Doof.
All right, Matt, it is time to figure out what our listeners thought of Stanley Kubrick's Dr. Strangelove. If you recall, Matt, both you and I were very, very high on this movie. We really, really liked it. Better than I think both of us expected to, honestly.
Yeah, I think I said something like I had seen it before, but I liked it more and found it funnier on this viewing.
Yeah. And so we have both voted yes. And what did the people at home do? Well, they agreed with us, Matt. 90. Let me do some quick math. Boom. I love math. 97%. No, 95%. 95% to 5% yes. So Dr. Strangelove is entered. And I'm pretty happy about this. How about you?
Yeah, me too. I think we laid out our arguments pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
And in terms of this being weird Kubrick, there are lots of great Kubrick films, but this one is a weird, lesser appreciated one.
Yes, there are many like it, but this one is mine.
Yes, I get it.
You see what I did there?
Yeah,
I'm so fucking clever. Yeah. No, great film, really enjoyable. If this is the only Kubrick that ever makes our list, I'd be fine with that. But I suspect we're going to see Stanley again before this whole list is done, because partially because the list never ends, Matt. It never ends.
Yep, you're right. And at worst, we just start a new list at some point and forget about this list.
We might have to, because I'm going to be honest with you. I can't find the part where I put all the lists together. I mean, it's on Google Drive, so it's got to be somewhere, but I don't know where it is.
Well, you certainly can't just start over. I mean, that's impossible.
No, that'd be ridiculous.
Yeah.
That'd be absolutely ridiculous. All right, so that is the results of the canon on Dr. Strangelove. Make sure, if you want to help us pick movies, you can be part of our council, who are the ones who nominate these movies, and then our patrons are the ones who vote on which nomination is going to have an episode about. So if you want to be involved in that process, you can head on over to patreon.com/doofmedia and check out all those different tier levels to see which gives you which access, and you can help us out. Bring us movies so we can talk about them on the show.
Sounds good.
All right, Matt, this is going to be a pretty short conversation because it's only a 90-second teaser, but the Avatar 2 trailer dropped this week, and the fun thing about the marketing campaign is they are making this as big of a deal as it should be, because we're inviting press to a special screening of the Avatar 2 teaser trailer.
Yeah.
That what took place. So you had to drive out to a movie theater to watch a 90-second teaser trailer, but it was in 3D and high FPS and everything that this actual movie is going to be in, which is very exciting. So before we get into what we thought of the trailer itself, I wanted to point something out, Matt. And you were talking about this before the show, and I think you are correct in saying this needs to be the last time we do this. But let's do it one more time.
One more time.
The Avatar 2 teaser was watched 148.6 million times in the first 24 hours of it being online, which puts it at the second highest viewed trailer ever in the history of ever. And beat out basically any movie you can think of. I think the only thing that did higher than it was the Fast and the Furious 9. I don't know why that one in particular, but every Marvel movie, every Star Wars movie, every other movie was watched less times in 24 hours than Avatar 2.
Why do you think that was, Scott?
Well, I think it's because a lot of people really liked Avatar, the highest grossing film of all time.
That's also my impression, Scott.
Yeah. So can we finally stop with this Avatar is not culturally relevant thing? It obviously is. And I think at this point, Matt, if I were a betting man, which I am, I put all my money on this. Avatar 2 is going to do very, very, very well at the box office. Am I confident enough to say it's going to be the number one movie of the year? I think so.
Yeah.
I think so.
I think it probably will be, because James Cameron is a very, very smart businessman.
Yes.
And he calculates these things out. He arranges them. He makes it happen, such that he can achieve things like that. If he wants to be number one, he's going to be number one.
Well, and the interesting thing about this to me is, in this world where like franchises are kind of like milked to death, you know, like we've had the 28th Marvel movie came out last weekend. Star Wars, we had a new Star Wars every year until everyone got so sick of Star Wars that they just don't make any more Star Wars movies now. They're just done doing that. In that world, we have James Cameron, who releases the biggest movie of all time and then spends the next decade working on the second one. And so, you know, I don't know what's going to happen with Avatar 3, 4, and 5, but right now, this is an event, and everything involved in it, James Cameron himself, the marketing, the reaction from the audience, is fully recognizing that this is a big, big, big event in a world where we don't usually have big events like this anymore because we have so much content. This is a unique flower in our world of infinite content. And so it's going to do really well.
We oversaturated. The other thing, which I've seen this take in the wild, which means it's not just me, although I believe this too. The other thing is, like, people love James Cameron.
Yeah.
Everybody still loves James Cameron just because he hasn't made a mega blockbuster in a while. Everybody's like, yeah, it's going to be great. We all know it is.
James Cameron has never done the thing where Michael Bay made like 6 Transformers movies over the course of 7 years, right? Mm-hmm. He's always made blockbuster films, but he's never been the kind of guy to just be like, yeah, fucking let's do it. Blockbuster milking forever. And I mean, I guess Avatar is like really the first time where that actually possibly could happen, because he's planning an absurd amount of movies. And maybe that means like we're going to get diminishing returns from here on out, right? Maybe Avatar 3 is just not as popular and not as good, and it just carries on from there. But right now, in this moment, we have Avatar 2, we have this trailer, we have James Cameron clearly saying there is no such thing as Avatar the cartoon. I am bigger than you, and therefore I'm going to not only name my movie Avatar, but I'm also just going to bring water into it, because fuck y'all, I'm James Cameron.
Yeah. In 1,000 years, they'll only remember the Na'vi.
So Matt, I guess what were your thoughts on this teaser trailer? It's very brief. It's really just a series of images. We don't have any real idea what the story is going to be, but we have some idea. What did you think of the trailer?
I mean, it looks beautiful. It's totally consistent with the visual aesthetic of the original movie, while clearly being an upgrade in the graphics. It's funny, it reminds me of some stuff I was saying about God of War, where I played God of War on my PS4, and then I played it on my PS5, and I was like, it's clearly better on the PS5, but I absolutely couldn't articulate what is better if you paid me $1 million. And the fact is, it's just like, well, everything is a little bit better in a way where you can't pick one thing out.
Sure.
So it looks beautiful.
It does look beautiful. I will say, like, it doesn't look like, Super Nintendo to N64 better. And I think that's just a testament to how fucking good the original movie looked.
Yes.
Even though it's been over a decade.
You're right. Like, that's the thing, is you can go back and watch Avatar, and there's not literally nothing, but almost nothing that catches your eye as being like a little bit dated CGI. And
of course, the other thing is that we're watching this on YouTube, where it's being heavily compressed. So like, we're not getting the full clarity of the image. And I think a lot of the most impressive things that this movie is going to do is some underwater stuff that the trailer doesn't show. Only hints at showing, doesn't show a whole lot of.
The other thing, though, like you kind of said, it's very short. It's a teaser. We don't really have any idea what the plot's going to be. The first Avatar, Avatar 1 trailer was, well, I don't know about the first one, but the Avatar trailers were pretty explicit about what the movie was going to be about. And this one's being pretty cagey. So, eventually we'll get a full trailer. We'll understand what the movie's going to be about. I think you and I have a lot of confidence in James Cameron as a storyteller, as a writer, not just as a director. So, so I'm excited. I'm very positive. And yeah. I don't know. Did you have any other impressions of the trailer?
No, I mean, we see a pregnant Na'vi, which was new to me. Didn't expect that. I guess it's what's her name? I've forgotten the character's name. The one that's played by Zoe Saldana. I don't remember. It doesn't matter. There's a pregnant Na'vi, which surprised me. I obviously think Jake Sully has a kid, because we see a younger Na'vi. We also see a man, just a dude wearing a mask the whole time. So I don't know what he's doing there. He's got dreads. He's a white kid with dreads. I don't know what he's doing there. Yeah,
it's interesting, because we were talking about this before, and I was like, is he a giant like them or not? And it's hard. The thing is, because of the way that it's it's a teaser trailer, so it's heavily cut up, and so you can't. It's hard to get a sense of spatial relationships and stuff. So
yeah,
I don't know.
I really hope that the plot of this movie isn't just the humans came back and we got to fight them again. I mean, I think that is definitely going to happen, but we also saw like there are shots of like heavily industrial areas where Na'vi and humans are just walking amongst each other, right? And so I don't know if those are just more Avatar. Like, I hope there's more going on in the plot than just, oh, human back, gotta fight him again. I have faith that there will be, but it's hard. Like you said, you can't really tell from this trailer.
Yeah, I feel the same. That I doubt that it will just sort of be a retread of the first one, because I just don't think that James Cameron would do that.
No, and like we talked about this when we were doing Cameron. There's got to be something beyond just his ability to test himself technically. There's got to be something about this world that he felt so compelled to return to again and again and again and again. So I would think that part of that is going to be the story he wants to tell here. So
yeah, me too.
We will see. I don't know. We'll find out what The Way of Water is when it comes out in December. I don't know exactly which day, but it's in December.
Yeah,
I'm
December
excited.
16th is the currently slated release date.
All right. Well, we will probably end up doing an episode on it at some point.
I bet so.
All right, folks, that is going to do it for us. If you have any thoughts on Someone to Watch Over Me, which of course you don't because there's no way you actually watched that movie, or on the Avatar 2 trailer, please let us know. You can reach out to us via email at doofmedia@gmail.com, on Twitter @doofmedia, or over on our Reddit account. That's r/doofmedia.
That's right. And if you're not already a subscriber to the Doofcast, then we encourage you to subscribe and ensure you never miss an episode. You can find the Doofcast on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, YouTube, Google Play, and pretty much anywhere else podcasts can be found.
And if you like what we do here and want to support us and make sure we keep getting to do it, please consider becoming a patron of Doof Media. You can head over to our Patreon. That's patreon.com/doofmedia. And once again, you can look at each and every one of those donation levels and pick the one that best suits what you can afford and also what kind of cool bonus stuff you get, because each of them have benefits that bonus content, bonus things. You can vote in polls and book clubs and all these fun things. So head on over to patreon.com/doofmedia and pledge to support us at whatever level you can.
Yeah, also please consider rating and reviewing the Doofcast on Apple Podcasts. Every review helps us get more exposure and introduces new people to the content that we make here.
That is true. And can you believe it, Matt? We're going to come in under an hour for the first time
ever
in I think ever. I think
this movie deserves that honor.
I think I'm stretching it out right now by talking, and I think we're just going to bump over an hour if you include the trailer that I'm going to put in and the intro and outro music.
Okay,
so
okay.
We dodged that bullet.
That's hilarious.
But we will see you all next week as our Deconstructing Ridley Scott series continues with Dark. Is it now? I'm confusing Hard Rain. Is it Dark Rain?
I already forgot.
Dark Rain. Ridley.
Black Rain. Black House.
Black Rain. We'll see you next week.
My name is Doof, and you'll do what I say. My name is Doof, and you'll do what I say.